Good afternoon, I'm Vashan Brown with the Midday News. Special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. The Bank of Jamaica has again intervened in the foreign exchange market, selling $40 million to authorize the dealers and cambios. It comes following weeks of anxiety over the Jamaican dollar losing value to the US dollar. In a statement today, the BOJ said the factors behind the recent depreciation in the exchange rate are well known. It says it expects that these impulses will subside and that normalcy will return to the market. The BOJ reiterated that there has been an increase in demand for foreign currency due to the regular restocking by retailers for the Christmas season. In addition, there has been extraordinary demand relating to portfolio transactions. The BOJ says it has taken note of the public's concern about the depreciation in the exchange rate. However, it does not expect that the recent pace of exchange rate movement will be sustained. The bank says it remains committed to maintaining orderly conditions in the foreign exchange market and will only intervene to prevent disorderly market conditions. In the meantime, consumers are getting more anxious about the increase in the value of the US dollar and the impact it is expected to have on prices. President of the National Consumers League, Michael Diamond, says his members have expressed unease and want early intervention. The local currency has been losing value to the US dollar in recent weeks, despite the intervention of the central bank. Currency trading closed yesterday with the US dollar selling for an average $141.95. Mr. Diamond states that members of the league are not yet panicking, but some have been vocal about the unpredictable nature of the currency movement. Speaking with our news center, he expressed concern that some increased costs could be passed on to consumers.
There's always a concern because usually the cost is always passed to the end user, and the end user is the consumer. Even though a lot of the manufacturers would have planned ahead, but nevertheless, any change in the exchange rate is something that they attempt to recoup now rather than later. So this is a situation for us as consumers that we definitely don't like the sporadic activity of the dollar, but nevertheless, we do understand that this is a part of the process, especially now that we're moving into a shopping season. But for us, it's a major concern when manufacturers and others will just simply react and pass these expenses on to our consumers.
On to other news now. Minority members of the St. Anne Municipal Corporation will this Thursday seek to move a motion to suspend the councillor of the Brownstown Division, Kim Brown Lawrence, from the sittings of the corporation. This stems from her being arrested and charged in connection with former Education Minister Ruel Reid in the Ministry of Education CMU scandal. They were charged for conspiracy to defraud, misconduct in a public office at common law, and breaches of the Proceeds of Crime Act. Minority leader in the St. Anne Municipal Corporation, Winston Brown, says once the motion is made on Thursday, it will be voted on.
Well, if it's not accepted, well, it's up to the people now to determine. I don't think it is fair for the person to have to be representing a division and have serious cloud over our head, criminal charges involved in government.
Mr. Brown says the law which governs acts of criminality should go for all.
If a police officer is charged for corruption, they are moved from frontline duty immediately. A public servant, a criminal charge against them, they are sent on suspension or expelled. So what's the difference with us as politicians?
The Office of the Children's Advocate has signaled that the police will conduct another raid on the controversial Bayith Yahweh group in St. James to remove other minors who may be held there. The development comes after the OCA expressed regret that all children were not rescued in the last raid. TVJ's Dwayne Anderson reports.
Last week, the attention of the nation was fixed on St. James as a religious sect, the Bayith Yahweh group, clashed with security forces over questionable dealings involving children. In the end, the police managed to rescue several children from the premises, taking to 6 the number of minors the security forces have removed from the group's custody. So what has happened since? Well, on Monday, news came that the Office of the Children's Advocate is mapping its next step to ensure the safety of all children within the controversial group. Children's advocate Diane Gordon Harrison expressed concern that all the children were not removed when the security forces raided the group's base.
At this stage, it would be to get all the information and really to assess in a very careful way what is the appropriate next step. I can't say what that is at this time, though.
She says the matter is being treated as top priority by her office.
The situation with the Kahal Yahweh has not in fact escaped the Office of the Children's Advocate's attention. We continue to have this matter as one of our priority matters, and of course, because of our responsibility to persons under 18, we'll continue to treat it as priority until we are assured of some level of appropriate treatment in relation to all the children.
There have been allegations of abuse, child marriages and withdrawal of children from school by members of the Kahal Yahweh group. Mrs. Gordon Harrison in the meantime disclosed that this is not the first time her office is being alerted to concerns about the welfare of children within certain religious groups.
In the past, we have heard of other situations where you have children living in circumstances that we're not fully sure of all the details that would have raised concern. But this, as far as my memory informs me in recent time, is the most organized and recognized grouping that certainly has come to my office's attention.
Dwayne Anderson, TVJ News.
And it's time for a break, but stay with us. More stories right after these messages. Welcome back, continuing the news. The People's National Party says it has launched its own investigation into an incident which shut down operations at the Accident and Emergency Unit of the Bustamante Hospital for 2 hours. The incident involves PNP Councillor Carrie Douglas and a member of the medical team at the hospital. TVJ News understands that Miss Douglas took her child to the hospital due to what Miss Douglas said was a high fever. However, the child was not attended to immediately. That's when a standoff ensued. In a release this morning, the PNP said it cannot condone any reported verbal abuse or alleged attack on hospital staff. PNP Chairman Fitz Jackson says the incident is being viewed to determine an appropriate course of action. In the meantime, Mr. Jackson said the dengue crisis, shortage of bed space, the unavailability of medicine and medical supplies, the shortage of nurses, doctors and other medical and ancillary staff are real factors that add to the tensions in the sector. He said these must be addressed urgently as part of making public hospitals efficient and user-friendly. The Jamaica Labour Party is rubbishing claims from the opposition that more scandals are to be revealed within the coming months. Speaking at the JLP's youth conference in Tivoli Gardens on Sunday, Government Senator Pernell Charles Jr. told the party supporters to expect more of these claims from the PNP leading up to the next general election.
You wait and watch until the next election call. The amount of propaganda and lies and wickedness that going to spread by the opposition. We will not be able to combat it at that time. We have to make sure that we take control of the narrative and the story from now.
On the weekend, the PNP president, Dr. Peter Phillips, stated that he had more information about corruption in the JLP administration, but said he was not yet ready to reveal it. Pernell Charles Jr. has called for the party's youth arm, Young Jamaica, to help keep Jamaicans focused on the improvements.
I'm saying to you, Young Jamaica, you are the ones to spread the message of accuracy, of truth. You are the ones to go on the road and make sure that if the people do not vote who have sense, make sure you tell them, if them no vote, somebody else will go vote. If people do not know what the Labour Party has done, then we are putting the next election at risk. And we cannot afford to do that.
And it's now time for sports. 2017 beaten finalist St. Andrew Technical will be looking to secure top spot in Group 2 of the quarter-final round of the Issa Manning Cup when they take on Jamaica College at the Stadium East Field on Tuesday. Stats are at the top on 6 points, while JC are second on 2 points. Kickoff is at 2 p.m. and live coverage will be on TVJ. At 4 p.m., defending champions Kingston College will face Camperdown in Group 1 action at the same venue. Meanwhile, Meanwhile, over at Jamaica College, Wilma's boys only need a point against out-of-contention Charlie Smith to make progress to the last four. And the St. George's College must beat Excelsior and Hope JC draw or lose to Stats to get to the semis. Those matches will also be played as a double-header at 2 and 4 p.m. And that's the Midday News. I'm Vashon Brown. Join us at 7 for Primetime News Package. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, have a wonderful afternoon.